How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. If Bitcoin is going into a bear market or already is in a bear market, this is the chart that you need to pay attention to. I've actually talked about it for years. I put it on the channel back in 2023. Actually, like 2 days ago, two years ago, in 2 days, I put up this video talking about this chart, and it basically predicted the exact top of the market. And it also predicts the bottom. It's not magic. It could be wrong in the future, but it was right again. So I want to show it to you and explain how you can get up to about a 300% gain. Of course, not financial advice. Nothing is guaranteed, all that kind of stuff. But you can get about a 300% gain without having to time the market, just by dollar cost averaging and using this chart to practice your timing or to help with your timing a bit. So I'm going to be going through that. It's kind of an interesting time in the point of crypto where the bulls are still, there are maybe 20% of the bulls that are certain that we're still going to go into a bull market, or that we are in a bear market. We're still in a bull market. There's maybe 30% of people that say, I'm not exactly sure. And then there's like 50% of people that are just like, no, we're definitely in a bear market. So yeah, it's interesting. There are a lot of different viewpoints here. So of course, I don't know the future. I don't know if we're going to $100,000 next week or to $70,000. So I will roll the disclaimer here before we get started. Just a reminder, this is not financial advice. This is not legal advice. Do your own research. I'm never going to reach out to you either in the comment section or through any other means to try to get you to invest in something that I'm investing in or to send me crypto. Some links underneath the video are affiliate links. I may earn a commission, but this is at no extra cost to you. Of course, do your own due diligence. All right, now if you do want to trade crypto, there is a link underneath the video. You can check out BYDeFi. I really like this platform. It's a great place to trade, and you can still make money in a bear market by trading. Right now, we have this big deposit event going on right now, which is awesome because you can deposit and get up to $2,000 in bonuses. And we're going to do more of these trading giveaways in the future too. Just depending on how much you trade, you can get thousands of dollars. There's someone that actually got $10,000 worth of Bitcoin this last trading promotion period. So we're going to do more of these in the future, and this is for everyone that's ever signed up. So you might as well sign up now while you get the deposit bonus, get used to the platform, and then next month, probably the beginning of next month, we'll set another one of these campaigns. Now, there is a lot of pain in the market right now. Like Michael Saylor's strategy is down 58% in the last 6 months. People are talking about whether it's going to be delisted from different indices. We talked about that in the video yesterday. There are other DAT companies or Bitcoin treasury companies. They're down significantly, like Kindly, MD. This is the Naka Brands. This is David Bailey's company who runs the Bitcoin conference, Bitcoin Magazine. From the peak, it's down 98.2%, with Grant Cardone saying that they should basically get new leadership. They have no cash flow. They missed an SEC filing. They have imminent delisting. And worst of all, no exit strategy. So like there's a lot of pain right now in the markets, which is why I wanted to talk to you about maybe the simplest strategy. This is actually something that I did throughout the last bear market. It's a very simple chart that has been correct a lot of the time. Of course, it's not necessarily always going to be correct. There are various ways that you can dollar cost average into the market, that you can approach this market. The simplest way that I think you can make, 200-300% gains in a couple of years is to dollar cost average starting from around now to the next bull market. Now, that sounds easy, but how do you go about that, right? Like, what's the plan? How aggressively do you dollar cost average? All that kind of stuff. We'll talk about it. Another thing you can do, typically we do go under the 200-week moving average in a bear market. You could try to wait for this timing. The only thing that's scary to me is like, what if we don't get quite down to it, right? Like Benjamin Cohen's talked about how we have a date with destiny for the 200 week moving average. What if we just like get right above it and we don't quite touch it, and then you just miss out on a bull market? That would kind of suck. So if you want to be maybe a little bit less aggressive than that, we can use something that I've used in the past, which is the Bitcoin spiral. I've shown this chart a lot actually on the channel before. This is from the Rational Root. This video is from November 24, 2023. It got under 8,000 views. It's a very simple chart. It's one that I used. Basically, this shows different years. This shows time in a circle. And this is slightly different, like the orientation is slightly different than what we've seen in the newer charts. But basically, this shows the peaks and this shows the bottoms, right? They're almost exactly a year apart. And basically, if you dollar cost average from the peak for a year, that's about when we hit bottom. And then another year is usually a decent time to be dollar cost averaging. And then we have the halving about 6 months later, and then we peak out. We start hitting new all-time highs usually 6 months later. So let me show you the newer version of this chart. It's this. It's slightly oriented differently, but I think it's actually easier to see this way. You can see these are the bottoms here, right? This is time going around in a circle. We're almost at 2026, right? So this is typically where we peak. This quarter, actually, you can look at like this quarter of the chart is 1 year. So this quarter of the quarter, so the fourth quarter of 2025, the fourth quarter of 2021, the fourth quarter of 2017, the fourth quarter of 2013, this is where we've seen the last peak, and then we've seen bottoms 1 year later, almost to the month, right? Like, so if you dollar cost average from this peak, which we hit it again, October 6th was our peak. If you dollar cost average for the next year, typically we bottom somewhere around here. Now, this could change in the future, so maybe we top out, or maybe we bottom out before because we topped out earlier and we started topping earlier this cycle. So everything's a little bit different. So I don't want to miss the bottom. So I'm not going to try to time the exact bottom. So you start dollar cost averaging now, you keep on buying, keep on buying, keep on buying. You basically, let's say you buy until the halving. That's what I did this last cycle. I bought this entire time all the way to the halving. And then we hit new peaks, new peaks, new peaks. You can take profits or just sit on your Bitcoin, can just wait to buy more Bitcoin. That way you're not buying at the all-time highs like before we drop down into another multi-year bear market. This is assuming that we see a similar pattern to what we've seen in the past. I'll break down the numbers though. How would this look? Like how much can you get in gains? Well, let's say you start next month, right? Bitcoin's price is 85,000, let's say, and it goes down. Let's say it continues to go down. We'll just make it simple. $5,000. It goes down in January, then $5,000 again in February, another 5,000, then maybe 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. Just continues chopping down until the ultimate bottom, which is in October, right? So it just goes down very simply. Of course, it won't look exactly like this, but just for simplicity's sake, let's say you can dollar cost average $1,000. I realize not everyone can do that. For some people, this is like nothing. So we're just going to say for, again, simplicity's sake, you dollar cost average $1,000 throughout the entire next year, right? And then you don't stop because even though Bitcoin's price might bottom, let's say it bottoms in October and then starts going up. Well, you're still buying at a fairly good price, right? 57,000, 60,000, 60,000, 63,000. So we're going to assume that it keeps on going up slowly, right? This is kind of like the phase where we're not sure if we're actually going to get out of a bear market. Maybe there's still a lot of bad news that's coming out, but maybe the price continues to go up anyways, and people are kind of wondering why, and they think it's a fake out. Let's say this continues. This is the Bitcoin halving. Let's say it's somewhere around March. We don't know the exact date, but it was April last time. Let's say it's March. You stop then, right? You stop at the Bitcoin halving. Bitcoin's $92,000, so it still hasn't hit all-time highs. Still like $30,000 away, but you stop buying then. Of course, you could buy later, but let's just say you say under 92,000, I'm happy, but at this time, right, I'm gonna stop because we know that the market's gonna start hitting all-time highs soon. And then let's say that everything starts moving a little bit quicker, right? So we start hitting all-time highs maybe 6 months later. Based on when we peaked this cycle, 2025, late 2025, maybe we peak at late 2029, right? And then maybe there's some fear in the broader markets, right? Maybe people are worried about 2030, what that looks like, I don't know. But let's say we top out in November of 2029. Okay, maybe it's around $245,000, or maybe it's December, right? $257,000, somewhere around there. That makes sense, $250,000, basically a 2x from where we got this cycle. Okay, so very similar gains maybe to what we've seen this cycle. Maybe it's less, to be clear. Like, I'm not trying to guess on that, but how much do you make from this, right? How much can you buy? Well, you're doing purchases of about 0.012 Bitcoin at first, but it goes up because the price of Bitcoin goes down. Eventually, you get close to like 0.02 Bitcoin on a purchase, close to it, but you don't quite get there. You keep on accumulating. Remember, you stop at the Bitcoin halving, so you're not accumulating any right after then, but you get up to 0.4 Bitcoin. Not quite a half coiner, but close, right? How much is it worth? Well, you actually start getting pretty good gains after we start the bottoming process, right? So let's just show all this here. The value of your Bitcoin actually is negative, or the gain that you have is actually negative for a while because you're buying all the way down, but it actually changes fairly quickly. So you start buying at 85,000 and you quickly go into the negative, but you don't try to time the bottom. The most you get down to in this scenario with our numbers is negative 16%. But by the time we're at $64,000 Bitcoin, you're actually floating positive, which is kind of crazy because you start buying at 85, but you're already positive by about 65. Why is that? Well, you dollar cost averaged a lot in the upper 50s, mid 50s. So you come out of that and you actually have by the time that you're back at 85 when you started buying, you're actually at a 24% gain, right? So that's actually pretty impressive. I just realized you probably can't see the chart too well. It's actually pretty great. And then by the time you stop dollar cost averaging, you're at like a 32% gain, like nothing crazy at that point, but that's pretty good. And that's on your whole portfolio, the whole amount of Bitcoin that you bought. So some of the purchases, you're up more, some less. But then you continue to ride out the bull market. And the fact is now, instead of dollar cost averaging $1,000, you can store up cash and then you can actually feel good, or like you actually have cash on the sidelines if we have some rough points or you see some opportunities or you want to, like, let's say leverage trade or something like that. By the end of the bull market, you're close to a 3.7x. This is 268% in gains. So you're up significantly. I mean, you're up $70,000 and you invested $28,000. You basically invested for 2 years and 4 months. So you're up a significant amount in a short period of time. I mean, this is 4 years from today, you're up 300%. That's a really good return. And that's without timing anything perfectly. Of course, if you wanted to wait until, you think the bottom of the bear market is here, you could try to put in a larger amount or something. But this is without timing the market. This is with, I think, it pretty much on easy mode psychologically, because you're not trying to, you're not following anything besides the timing. Now, of course, the timing can be different. Maybe here you want to sell. Maybe you just want to wait for another bear market, then accumulate more. It's up to you, right? You can approach at your own risk and do whatever you want, depending on your risk tolerance, depending on where you think Bitcoin's going in the future, depending on, your own financial situation. Something else you can do, this is something that I do, right? You can also use a small amount of leverage. So I'm not using, I'm not putting my entire portfolio into Bitcoin at 3x long positions or, 5x, 10x, but I do like to use small amounts of my portfolio to leverage trade. So let's say you open a leverage trade up at, $80,000, right? You put in $1,000, which, maybe that's not the best because like your portfolio is maybe $2,000 of Bitcoin plus $1,000 of leverage. Maybe you want to do less than that first and add more positions along the way. But let's say you just open it up for simplicity's sake. The liquidation point would be about 33% lower. So you actually wouldn't get liquidated. You actually be fairly close to liquidation here, but you wouldn't hit liquidation based on these numbers. Let's say you hit liquidation, right? And you lose that $1,000. You could open up another long position. That's what I'm going to be doing, opening up more long positions at that 3x leverage as we go down. So you could open up another 3x leverage position and actually it would be a pretty similar return. Long-term, it actually, might be a little bit better. Who knows? But yeah, you'd be close to liquidation there. You come out of liquidation, and because you're on 3x leverage, you actually get much better returns. So this $1,000 could turn into a 667% gain, or that $1,000 could turn into $7,600. And this is something that I like to do because, one, I think if you come at it from a position of strength, you can actually get better returns than just dollar cost averaging Bitcoin. Also, I like to take profits from leverage positions. It seems easier to me than wrapping my head around like getting out my cold storage and transferring it out and then selling it and knowing that it could go higher. Like I feel better about trading with leverage and taking profits than selling cold, hard, stored Bitcoin, right? That just seems difficult to me because I like Bitcoin and I think it's going to do really well in the future. So, and there's just more of a barrier to getting everything set up and doing it. So you have to make a little bit more of a day out of it, right? So let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Let me know if this makes sense. Of course, like this doesn't predict the future. Take it for what it is, right? But it's been pretty correct and I've shown it for years on the channel. Even if it's wrong, right? Like even if we topped out again, maybe in January or something instead of December, or we top out, sorry, in January, like in a couple months. Let's say we continue to go on a massive bull ride and then we top out somewhere around here. Well, still, the peaks are all very close together. Like even that, it's pretty much the same thing as us topping in October, right? Like just slightly different. But yeah, I kind of think this is a good blueprint. And the fact is so many people know about the cycles and try to trade the cycles that they almost become self-fulfilling prophecies at this point. Right. And even institutions, right? Let's put on our like conspiracy hat and say, well, institutions are trying to make us think that this is a bull market, bear market cycle, but it's going to go on forever. Okay. The fact is we still fell 35% right around when we typically peak out, right? And we still bottomed right where we typically peak out. I wouldn't be surprised if the institutions try to fake us out, right? By causing what typically happens to actually happen, but then just have the bottom much sooner, right? They still need mass panic. They still need retail out, even if we're getting into the conspiracy theories, right? They still need all that to happen. So maybe we like bottom out faster, right? That could happen. But still, it would have, it would be basically the same thing as what we've seen in the past because the institutions want to freak people out and then buy. It's easier for the institutions to, to do that and actually cause and whales manipulators to cause these cycles to continue, freak out retail, then pump it, buy really simply, just like we're talking about, buy throughout this entire time period, and then pump us back to all-time highs because this is where max fear comes in. This is not where everyone's bullish and people are like, oh, this is the bottom, right? We just hit the same bottom as we hit the last 3 cycles. Let's go and buy. No, it's like, is Bitcoin going to come back? We don't know. There's max panic. There's max fear. There's max complacency. There's a reason it's a bottom because it's bad. The crypto market's bad, right? So even if we think the 4-year cycles are done, I wouldn't be surprised if manipulators still try to make it look like they were happening and then just like kind of flick the time off a little bit, just like we saw this peak, right? People thought we were going to go higher and go longer, but it didn't happen. So then it caught a lot of people off guard, which is what whales, manipulators, institutions want to be able to accumulate more crypto at good prices. Let me know your thoughts. Again, if you want to trade, check out BYDeFi underneath the video. It's in the link tree. If you want to join me on Telegram, there's a link to that too. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video.